Good morning, ladies. I am Karen Ray. This is the Fave Biz Society and Fave Lifestyles, and we are kicking off our new show called Ask the Expert because we want to tap into the resources of the women in our community, and I want you to get to know the ladies who help inspire us to move forward. So Andrea Koochin is here with us today. Hello, Andrea. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
Yes, and so we have a fabulous topic. We are going to be talking about how to optimize your connection. And no matter what business you are in, what you're doing in life, connection is so important. And I think during COVID, we really realized how important that is in our lives, whether you're in business or not, in all the areas of life. So Andrea is the co-founder of PhD in Follow-Up and also MyHomeBiz.TIPS. So, but Andrea, before we dive into our topic, let's talk a little bit about you so the ladies can get to know you. And so you call yourself a global citizen. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my mother's German and I was born in the UK, so I was already slightly different. I also picked up French really easily at school, and then I went to live in France for a while. Then I lived in Nigeria for a while, and now I live in America. So I've kind of lived in several continents.
Wow. So you had the opportunity to connect in different cultures and with all kinds of different people. So you have a good perspective on that. So that's really interesting. So what is your background? Where were you and where are you today?
Yes, I came out of 15 years in television. Through setting up cable television throughout Europe, an educational channel mostly. So I have a sort of very creative background, but it's also a kind of marketing-ish sort of a background as well. And I started in a facilities house, which is a company that rents out equipment, camera equipment, crews, that kind of thing. And I did the bookkeeping for that company. And then I became a production assistant and gradually the producer and then the head of production for this cable channel. And so I picked up a lot of different skills. After that, I worked freelance for a while, including for people like hedge funds. So I learned about finance and money, and that fitted in with the budgeting thing. And then I came over here. And the idea was that I wouldn't work. I was going to have a family and so on. But my husband's career path changed. He had lost a child at the age of 6 before we met to a brain tumors. And he'd always been interested in health and decided to really dive into that. So he went to school to the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. And I thought, okay, that isn't going to bring us in enough money. So by that stage, our daughter was at school anyway. And I thought, okay, let's do something. And I met someone. I was very lucky to meet someone at a networking event who introduced me to a marketing tool, a greeting card, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And he and I have been working together ever since. And we found that people didn't have a marketing strategy. They had loads of tools, didn't know what to do with them because they had no strategy. And what they were saying was, I'm too busy. I can't do this. I can't, whatever it was. They had a PhD in excuses, just like we had ourselves. That's where the name PhD in Follow-Up came from.
Yes, and I think that follow-up piece, I mean, the business, there's all these different sections, if you will, and follow-up. Oh my gosh, I think people fall off the cliff there a lot of times.
Yeah,
just having that connection and not knowing that strategy, not knowing how, not having the tools, all the pieces of that. Mm-hmm. So yes, so talk a little bit more about what you are currently doing today and helping people take that step forward and in that follow-up and how that works.
Okay, when we first connect, we talk about what their business is, what it does, what it's supposed to accomplish, and where their people come from. Because some people have landing pages and some people do Zoom networking events and some people are going back to live networking events and all sorts of things. Some people get referrals. So that data is collected somewhere. Then what happens to it? How often are they connecting? How are they connecting? Who are their important people? Who are their not so important people? Who is going to be happy just ticking over slowly in the Facebook group and the monthly emails or weekly emails while they learn about who you are, who's ready to dive in. How are you connecting with them? Because what's been happening in the past is we've been leaving people behind, which means that those people don't get helped, which is a disaster from their point of view, because we're all here to help, right? And if somebody misses out on our help, that's not good. But from our own point of view, if we're missing out on a client, it means we're working several times faster and harder to get more clients when we've got people already sitting there who could be clients. We're leaving money on the table. All that kind of makes things stressful and overwhelming and difficult and challenging.
Yes, which leads us into our topic of how to optimize that connection piece.
Exactly.
And yes, because you have these people maybe in your group or on an email list, in your sphere of influence, and how do you tap into that and in a good way, because like you said, we're here to help. Can we be a resource for you and help you move forward? And is it a good fit? So what would be the first point? Is it that presenting yourself? Our first point is talking about presenting yourself virtually.
Yes. Well, when you present yourself virtually, you need to I've seen people who've got backgrounds, for example, that are so confusing. They've created something on a graphic and there's so much information on there and it's so confusing that it's just not worth doing. You also don't want to sit in front of something that's confusing or horrible, or there are people walking behind you all the time, or there's a table behind you that's a mass of books or rubbish or something. So it is a good idea to create a graphic, but minimal information and nice impact. Your logo, like we've got the Fave logo up here, your logo, and then your name and your email address over here or something like that. Very simple. Even though I've got my name and my email address and my phone number on there, and I do have my city because I do a lot of international stuff, I still get people asking me what it is. What's your name? What's your email address? How do I reach you? It's like, right up there. That doesn't matter. The point is, because they're seeing it as well, they're sort of on a deep psychological level, it is penetrating. So even though they've written it down, because they saw it as well, they'll remember it more easily, even though they don't know they're going to remember it more easily. So when the chat thing then comes, everyone's saving the chat. Some people write an essay. This is my name. These are my 53 different social media connections and my websites and my different pages and my other things and my digital business card and my email address and my phone number. And it's what? So I recommend that people find one link that has everything. So there's a new thing in town now, a new free thing called Linktree. Use that. Get a digital business card, something that is like a single web page. If you've got a domain name, use one of your web pages, put your information on there, put your different social media links there so they're live. People can click on them because some people prefer one, some people prefer another. So the more you have, the better. But if you present it like that in a clear, succinct way, you're not overwhelming or frightening anybody. And they can then look at your link. But don't think that because your information is easy to get, people are going to go there. They're going to need prompting. I've seen people say, oh, well, I gave my information at that meeting. Now I'm just waiting for people to reach out to me. You'll be waiting a long time, because it doesn't matter how interested they are in your product. They're more interested in selling their product. So they're going to forget about you. So you have to stay in touch. So within 24 hours, you reach out on a social media platform. That depends on where your clients are and who you are and how you do business. Then you follow up with an email saying, hey, we met at blah, blah event. Here's some information about me. Let's book a call. If you don't get a response, you wait a certain number of days. You have to figure out how many days that'll be. That's up to you. And then you follow up with something else. Maybe you use the other social media platform to reach out to them. Maybe you send them a text message saying, oh, I sent you an email last week with the information we discussed. Did you get it? Something like that. It's gentle. I had a real reality check when I was exploring CRMs a few years ago to find there is one called less annoying. That is what people want to be. They
Yes.
want to be less annoying because they think that if they keep reaching out, that they're going to be perceived as pushy. They are, if they don't do it in the right way. So I wrote an article some time ago. Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I've got this great product. You're going to want it." It's like, hello, who are you? Have
Yeah.
you seen? Just watch the video and you'll know. What am I going to get out of watching this video? Oh, something you really, really need. Who are you again? What actually happened was, because it was something I was actually interested in, I went away from his link and I looked at what it was, avoiding his link. I'm sure we've all done that.
Yeah.
I hope we've all done that. I hope I'm not the only one. Because if I was going to go and get that product, I certainly wasn't going to get it from him, because he wasn't even trying to find out who I am and whether I do actually need what he's trying to sell me.
Yeah. So do you think people feel like when that happens that they're like, because I know it's like, well, don't you want to know who I am?
Yes, exactly.
And maybe why I would actually need your product?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's just, especially after coming out of a time where we have all been kind of locked down, that we want to be seen, we want to be known, we want to be recognized as a human being. And
Yes.
just what you're saying is going along those lines. It's like, yeah, who are we? Come meet us.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're just a number. And sales is a numbers game, but you can play it so that everybody around you realizes it's a numbers game and they go and find that product from somebody else. Or you can actually make it a real thing. People get very focused on the fact this person could be a client. And if they're not going to be a client, they're of no use to me. That's not true. Firstly, they might be a client next week, next month, next year, or next decade, right? Secondly, how many people do they know? If
Yes.
you build a relationship with them, is it not possible they might refer you to somebody, even though they're not your client, actually?
Well,
Realtors take note, because realtors often, they sell a house and then they go, oh, I'm not even going to bother with that person for 7 years because they're not going to be moving. Wrong. If you've sold somebody their dream home and you did it in a nice way, that person can potentially provide, over the next few years, hundreds of clients for you. It's really not a good business idea to drop them. I know people who've bought houses within the last 5 years. They have no clue who they bought them from, because they never heard from the realtor again. Same with cars, or, expensive jewelry or flowers or anything. I tend to work with people who understand the idea of keeping in touch because they've got more expensive stuff to sell, but they still make big mistakes. And
yes.
it's not difficult. When you have a system, you set up email templates, text message templates, you put them in the system. This doesn't even have to cost you a lot of money. You can hack some of the free ones. It's amazing. And you keep in touch with everybody, but not at the same level. You never have to remember, because you have something that reminds you. Every morning, I have a list of, these are the people you need to keep to contact today. This is what you've got to say to them. It's so easy. I don't even have to hire a VA.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Wow. And just hearing you talk, and it's like, it's building those relationships. It's
Yes.
relationship building.
Yes.
And a lot of us don't know how to do that. Yeah. Because especially if you're newer at business, you're like, oh, they told me I have to do this and this and this, and I've got to make a sale. I've got to have clients. And you're right. When you talked about, you just get focused, is this person going to be a client? And you just
Yeah.
get absorbed into that, because you're like, oh, I need to make my numbers to,
Yeah.
to actually have a business.
Right. But let me pick up on something you said. You said that we don't know how to do it. We do. It's just that because we're doing it in a different area with a different purpose, we forget. Because when we go to a dinner party or a party, or meet or start a new job and meet a whole load of people, we know exactly what to do. All we have to do is apply the same principle to our business. Because if you were, I mean, my daughter's about to go to a prom. It's not her own prom, but she's been invited to a prom for someone else who's leaving school. When she goes to that prom and she meets a guy, she's not going to say to him, "Hey, you look like potential boyfriend material. Let's go find a room somewhere."
Yeah, no.
So why would you do that with a client? You'd say, "Hey, what school do you go to? What music do you like?"
Yeah.
And then you'll find out whether you're energetically, whether you vibe, whether you're a fit. It all happens naturally. We all know how to do it. We fell out of our cribs knowing how to do it. We've been doing it since kindergarten, but we forget because now we're trying to sell. Most of us don't want to sell. Most of us think that's the worst thing we could possibly do. So forget it. It's not about selling. This is the equivalent of trying to persuade your 2-year-old to eat broccoli. It's exactly the same thing. You say, "Okay, Fred, we have broccoli, we have ice cream. In order to get to the ice cream, you have to go through the broccoli." That's one approach. Or we have, "Let me tell you about broccoli and about green things and how they help. You know, eyes, daddy wears glasses. You don't want to wear glasses. If you eat stuff like this, you're not going to have to wear glasses." Or, "Here's broccoli. Here's your favorite cartoon. Something you want." It's the same conversation. Don't get confused because you're trying to sell somebody something. What you're trying to do is make them understand the value of what you're offering. And then they're going to give you something in exchange for that value. Like they're going to go to bed early or clear up their room or whatever it is, or eat their broccoli because they want the ice cream, right? Same conversation, same thing. Only what they're going to give you in exchange is money. Big deal. It's just a number on a screen. It's just a piece of paper in your wallet. It's nothing. It's just an agreed, something that we've agreed has value. It actually has no value whatsoever. It's perceived as an exchange value. That's all it is. You're exchanging information for something else. All you've got to do is show how valuable that information is. Forget the sales thing.
Oh, I love this conversation. This is so needed because I know so many women where you get stuck in the spot and you just need to use your own skills that you have and have
Yes.
that strategy. Yes. Oh, Andrea, so great. So what does that follow-up conversation look like?
It looks like connecting in different ways at regular intervals. So depending on how much value that person has in your business, and because they will have said, "Oh my God, I need that. How much is it?" In which case they're, high on the list. Or they might have said, "That's interesting. I might take a look at that." In which case they're not quite so high on the list. So when you set up a strategy, your strategy has timeframes, and it's the same with everyone in your, top potentials list. So it might be something like, the same day that we meet, I connect on Facebook or LinkedIn. 24 hours afterwards, I send them an email. It's a template. You can set this up to go automatically if you've got a very clever system. A touch of the button if you're doing it manually, but it's not a problem. Then, depending on whether they've responded or not, 7 days later, 3 days later, whatever is right for your business, you follow up with a text message or an instant message saying, "Did you get the email I sent? Do you have any questions?" Then again, you leave it and you say, "Okay, have you looked at the material? Are you ready to have a meeting now with me? Here's my calendar link." Of course, if they respond, then you deal with that response immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty of having a map is that you don't have to think, "Okay, now when am I supposed to?" The idea is to take as much of that busy work out of your mind and put it in something that's going to remind you. So all you do is you click on Karen Ray, you go, "Okay, spoke to her last week. I need to follow up with her next Wednesday." Forget Karen Ray. Wednesday comes, doo-doo, follow up with Karen Ray today. Easy. And it's not expensive and it's not difficult. And the process of setting it up is your own, right? I do usually same day, 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, 7 days, 14 days, 14 days, 1 month, and then I go to quarterly, make sure they're on the mailing list, get them in the Facebook group so they can see my lives. These other in-betweens are individual. So it'll be or they appear to be individual. This isn't a group email. It's an email to one person, even though it's a template. It isn't a group text. It's an individual text. I try and get people's birthdays. Well, I can do that on social media, but I get their birthdays and I try and get their addresses. So I send them a card. Sometimes that means I ask them on social media, I want to send you something. What's a good mailing address to send it to? And they give me an email and I go, no, I actually meant a physical address.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, sorry. Or I go to their website and they've usually got an address somewhere. It doesn't have to be their home. If I don't have it, I send a text message or a Facebook message or something like that, which just says, I know it's your birthday. A card is more in advance, so it's more real. A text message is also obviously something that you remembered yourself. Facebook less so, because I could go on Facebook and see a message saying, oh, it's Karen's birthday today, and go, oh shit, I better send her a message. Oh, I'm not allowed to say that. Whereas if I've done it by text message myself before, it shows that I thought of it myself, which of course I didn't because my system reminded me, but that's not the point. We all know that we've got systems, we all know in the back of our minds that we've got systems, but we're making it look as though there's more effort involved, because there is more effort involved.
Yes.
I don't leap for joy or burst into floods of tears when somebody sends me a text message to say happy birthday, but I do remember them. People do burst into floods of tears when you send them a birthday card. If, on occasion that has happened and you get, overwhelmed thank yous and they can't do enough for you. So that's always a good thing. But these are personal little communications, and they're things like, oh, I saw on you mentioned on Facebook last week that your son was going into hospital. Is he all right? Little stuff like that. Not salesy. I don't do salesy stuff except for, inside my Facebook group or in my emails. That's salesy. Or I might do a live where I've just found something absolutely amazing and I go, you've got to get this, in which case I'll put it in the link, but that's not the purpose of the conversation. The purpose of the conversation is to teach somebody something. I've just done that. Okay. Somebody's going to go, oh, that one thing she said was really useful. I'm going to write that down. So I've done something useful. Now, if I come along at the end of the conversation and say, oh, by the way, you can get this great product somewhere, that's okay. If I did it all the time, if I led with, oh, there's this great product, people would get bored because it's not real.
Yes, yes. So many good nuggets. So let's just kind of recap a little bit. So making sure that you are connecting virtually and some tips for that, and making connection easy and simple and easy on the eyes and all that kind of good stuff. And that follow-up conversation, oh my gosh, you have intrigued my brain. I'm like, oh, you mean I could really do this in a simpler way? And one of the key pieces that I really enjoyed hearing about is how you connect with people in different ways to make them feel special, because you're reaching out and really building that relationship with those folks. So, oh my goodness, we could have a whole different business the way we're running it. And it just feels so easy and light and lovely. I'm just loving this conversation. I'm so glad you came to talk with us today, because we women here, we have lots of ladies building businesses, and just think if we could just all just start building those relationships that you're talking about.
Yes.
What a different world.
There are lots of important things about that. One of them is that sometimes your business changes. Sometimes you find, I'm always teaching people to have some kind of residual income. So I'm helping them write a book, or create a training course, something that's residual, or find a product that they might want to sell that aligns with their business. I sell software. It aligns with what I do, that sort of thing. And sometimes it goes in a slightly different direction. I've just gone in a very slightly different direction, more towards investment and generating money in different ways, because that's what people are telling me. I need more money now, fast. So, but it means when I'm building relationships, it makes it so much easier to say, guys, I've just found this new thing.
Yeah.
And instead of having to push, people go, what new thing?
Yeah.
Because we've already got that trust going, because we have a relationship. They might have been on my mailing list for 10 years. Now suddenly they're going, new thing? What new thing? New type of software, different way of making money, or whatever it is. That sounds exciting. Or how to write a book. Oh, I've been dreaming about writing a book. You can, but if those people hadn't been there all that time, they wouldn't be here today to hear me say, I've just gone in a different direction. I know somebody who does promotion. She does media. She has a media company. And she was introduced to a network marketing company that did something that sort of lined up something that she'd needed. It's legal, actually, contracts, that kind of thing. And she became, over the next few months, the fastest person to the top of her MLM business, because everybody in her community wanted to jump on board, because they wanted to work with her, because she's a coach and she was giving coaching to these people who were in her team, helping them and supporting them. And I seem to remember she made 300 grand in a year in her first year. That's something like just with this MLM. If she hadn't got relationships with people outside of her client base, that would not have been possible.
Right. Yes. And that is one thing about community too. When you have these communities and you are connecting and you're telling your girlfriends who are also business, hey, I found this wonderful woman who can help us with follow-ups and make our businesses run easier.
Yes.
What do you know? They do listen. It's like, especially when you have tapped into it and done it yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So tell us how we can get a hold of you to find out more about what you're doing, and how you can help us make our businesses more successful and build those relationships.
Well, my website is called phdinfollowup.com. And on there, I have a page which you can access at phdinfollowup.com/Andrea Koochin, which is a little digital business card. And it has some information about me and all the links that I think are relevant and exciting, including come and meet me here. It's also got live links for phone numbers. So if you click on the phone button and you ring me, if you click on the text button, you text me, whether you're using your, phone or your computer, it doesn't matter. And I update that regularly. So it's always there. And it's a really easy way to introduce myself. phdinfollowup.com/Andrea Koochin, my name. And that's one of the things I teach. Set up a page that's got all your information on.
So I love that idea.
The chat in a meeting.
Yes. Well, thank you, Andrea. Yes, I'm going to, I think that's the next thing on my list to set up. So wonderful. Thank you for all the tips and sharing your insight and your knowledge with us to help us create our businesses and move them forward. So wonderful.
Thank you. And can I say that I love what you're doing, because showcasing people in front of a group makes it even easier for people to connect. That seeing people talk is a really good way of getting to know somebody. So I love the way that you're doing these little interviews regularly, and your little Facebook messages that you send out, and emails introducing members of your group to each other. I love the way you do that. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. And any last word that you would like to say, any little tip or anything you would like to leave with the ladies?
Just don't be afraid of asking for help, and no question is silly.
Wonderful.
Any potentially silly question, I'm sure I've heard or thought myself.
Oh, awesome. That is some great words. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, ladies, for joining us. We will see you next time on Ask the Expert.
Thank you. Bye-bye.